Hello everyone, welcome to Game Junk Prototype episode 69, recording on Thursday, July 15th, 2021. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name's Andrew.
And the video game gods blessed us this afternoon with a huge announcement. The Steam Deck has been revealed. Definitely rumored for a while now, but it is now official. We're going to talk about that and what we think about it. Maybe we've played some stuff. I haven't played much. We shall see. But let's get right into it. Steam Deck. I think was it a video with Gabe that I saw somewhere? I didn't actually watch it. I don't know if that was just something linked on the article I saw.
There was some kind of hands-on thing on IGN, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah, on IGN, clearly some kind of there's a pre-planned kind of all banner stories thing, some kind of paid advertising for this announcement, which is fine, but seems like it's a big deal, and I think it is kind of a big deal. I mean, it's $400, plays all your Steam games, streams them as well in a handheld that is, not surprisingly, very similar looking to the Switch, with the addition of two, I'm assuming those are touchpads under the analog sticks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm not sure if I'm crazy about the placement of the analog sticks and the D-pad. It definitely feels like something, or pardon me, seems like something I would need to get in my hands. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm irrationally hyped up for this thing. I know I've been wanting to buy a PC, and I'm getting close, but I don't know. Should I care about this? Should I be intrigued?
Well, I mean, I was excited when we were talking about the rumors of this and thought it might be announced at E3. So, I mean, I feel like it's definitely of interest to me. And I mean, maybe kind of comparable to you, Frank, in the sense that I want to play stuff on Steam. PC gaming has just always been a challenge in terms of staying on top of the hardware, and just as I've said many times, just don't like sitting at a desk playing games in front of my computer. So this is another option, and it does come with it doesn't come with it, but you can purchase a dock for it as well. Correct. So that you can play on your TV.
Apparently there's storage wise 3 versions, I think 64, 256 and 512. Yeah. And from what I read, the speed of the storage and possibly other aspects of the console scale up between those models as well.
Yes, it does.
I know that actual memory, the hard drive or storage space speed 100% skews up. I don't know if they've actually said whether other aspects do.
I think they said the other stuff is the same, right?
Except for the screen, right? The 512 has a non-reflective screen, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, anti-glare etched glass, it says on the Steam Deck page on Steam.
Oh, okay.
And an exclusive carrying case. Look out.
Man, you got me.
for the low price.
Yeah.
Almost $1,000 Canadian.
Oh, is that what it is Canadian? I think I saw
it's
600.
$820 Canadian. So $660 Canadian for the middle.
$649 US for the top level one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the actual CPU and all that stuff is the same across the SKUs. Yeah. And I guess that's one of the big questions for me is you say, or they're kind of just promoting it as hey, it's basically a PC. It's running Linux, but it has this layer that can handle Windows stuff, and apparently you can install Windows on it if you want. But the thing is where specs wise, where does this thing fall? And I was reading something today. I guess they're saying it's definitely more powerful than the Switch. It's definitely way less powerful than the Series X and the PS5. And it's kind of in the same zone as the Xbox One PS4.
Yeah, that's what I watched the IGN video. And that's what the Valve guys were saying. They said it has 4 cores. Each can do 2 software threads. So basically 8 threads total. And it does what they say 2 teraflops or whatever the one for the GPU is. However the GPU is, is it teraflops?
I think it's teraflops.
It's two. So it's 2 teraflops. That's what they were saying. So that was, and then they were saying that's kind of equivalent to the PS4, Xbox One level, which is pretty good because that's basically what your Steam library is consisting of right now. You don't really have anything higher than that. I don't think PS5 or Series X games are, well, they are coming to Steam, but I mean, they're not, you're probably buying them on those platforms.
Well, and I assume typically with a lot of these games, if they come to PC, I'm sure there's they plan for different level of detail and graphics modes and stuff like that. So you could probably scale even some PS5 down to run on that. If you're going to make a PC version anyway, you're going to look into stuff like that. So I would guess they're probably trying to hit what they anticipate the next Nintendo system is going to be, because Nintendo systems seem to be a big, or the Switch anyway, is a big home for indie games right now, which Steam is as well. And I feel like they're going to want to steal some of that marketplace for, I think, I know a lot of those games are already on Steam, but for people who want handhelds and want to play indie stuff, which was kind of a niche of the Vita as well, maybe this is going to take over that spot. Honestly, I don't, and maybe I'm sure there's people with a Switch that just play Fortnite and stuff on it, like people's kids, and Minecraft. So if you can have another handheld that does that without some of the bullshit of Nintendo, I'm sure there's gamer parents like us that would be you don't need Nintendo. We'll do this instead, and you'll still get the same games. But I don't know. I would still want to play Nintendo exclusive stuff. That's why the only reason I buy Nintendo consoles. So, but I will probably buy this, I think, unless I get it in my hands and it just feels like absolute garbage. And I am going to put this out to you too, because I have no clue. I've never heard a person in all my discussions with people in the games industry, no one's ever come up to me and said, low key, you know what the best controller is? The Steam controller. I feel like their hardware and stuff has a cult following with the touchpads that was supposed to be the big innovation on the Steam controller. And I assume a legacy kind of thing that these touchpads are. It's just weird because I'm guessing there is some community that exists that likes those, but I don't know. I'm not buying it. I had to use just the touchpad on my PS5 for that Chicory game a bit, and it was painful. So I feel like that's a big mistake. That's space, that prime real estate on the handheld being touchpads. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm guessing you can push them in as well. Maybe they're kind of easy access buttons and kind of going to replace the plus and minus or start and view buttons on other controllers. Maybe.
Well, so one question is the screen touch screen as well?
It is.
Yeah, it is. Okay. I thought I read it that it was, but
yeah, I'm looking at the tech specs right now. It says 7-inch touch screen.
Yeah, so that kind of makes it even weirder.
Does it say in the specs if it's? Assuming it
doesn't exclusively say that yet where I am, but 1 second.
Yeah, but I mean that kind of makes it a little weirder, even that they're putting these touchpads on the side. Yeah, I don't know. Looking at it, the one thing that strikes me is where the actual face buttons are is really off in the corner. It seems weird where that's placed.
And that's the thing. Until you get the side grips in your hands, that it might be pushing your hands in that spot. It might work fine.
I mean, it's reminding me a lot of the GLAP, I gotta say. So, which is okay, but not. I mean, it's compared to Microsoft, Sony, even Nintendo stuff, it's not there. So that could be an issue for sure.
So it doesn't say if it's multi-touch or not. It just says is touch enabled? Yes. So that's not really much information. Also, some things we didn't mention yet. It does have a micro SD card expansion slot. And they said you can install. I was trying to look up what the maximum size is, but it doesn't say on their tech specs. Their tech specs are kind of lacking in tech specs. And then the other thing is you can on the IGN video, they were showing that you can actually plug into that USB-C that's on top and connect that out to like HDMI television, and then basically run it as if you were running kind of like the Switch.
Yeah,
the
I've heard
exact same way.
like basically there's, non-official dock type things that use that port.
Yeah.
That similar setups will also work with this.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the ports and stuff, one thing I was curious about is can you plug in like a VR headset into this thing? Like, is that even a possibility? Like,
I believe you can, but this isn't a question and answer with IGN. Can I play VR off of it? No, maybe it meant on it. I don't know, but I mean, it has all the connectivity. You would just need a lot to do that, but that's not really what we're optimizing the performance for. So I'm reading that as probably not. Especially, I think the native resolution is 720p, and it's like to do VR, I think you probably need like 4K output at this stage to do something reasonable. Like two, I get maybe not. Maybe you need 2K really to do VR. So I'm sure it's possible on a game that is not very graphically intensive, but I wouldn't be banking on it. That's for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it would. You're talking about doing VR out to a headset, like running off of the PC.
USB-C. I mean, I guess you could stream as well with.
I guess it would depend. Like, it really depend on the game, because it would have to output higher. Because you wouldn't be outputting to the display, so you wouldn't have to do 1080p. It would depend on the game. If the game can, force out that higher rate, given the speed of the computer that's inside this thing, you could, in theory, put out higher resolutions to a headset.
Oh, of course, yeah. I just doubt, like, based if it's built to run on a basically 1080p screen that's native 720p, like, you're really gonna have to push it to the limits, I think. But who knows? I don't know. We don't know the tech specs, as Huck mentioned. So,
well, yeah, I've seen some of those tech specs, but there was just some missing, like I was saying, with like SD card and stuff.
One thing worth mentioning that I wasn't aware of until just before we recorded. Oh, I guess maybe worth mentioning: 16 gigs of RAM, which is quite a lot for a handheld, I would think. And the back apparently has 4 programmable buttons as well, which I don't think have been shown anywhere yet.
Yeah, isn't that kind of like the Xbox? What's that controller called? Isn't there like a Pro?
Yeah,
Elite controller. Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah, those are those are like usually they're detachable kind of pads. So I mean, I don't think these are detachable. I think they're just built into the system. So I don't know what they are exactly, but there are some images as well of kind of showing people plugging in arcade sticks into it. So I don't know how many USB ports there are on the actual thing, or let me go back and see if there's.
Yeah, so it only looks like one, from what I could tell from this, and I was also confused by that too, because unless you can like plug into that USB-C and then have like a hub, like a USB hub or something like that it can function, like as long as there's enough power to that port. Because in the IGN video, they were also talking about like plugging into an Ethernet port. I'm like, this thing's gonna have an Ethernet port, but it must be like one of those like Ethernet to USB adapters that you can plug in or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Unless
maybe they were talking about the yet to be seen dock or whatever that will have.
Maybe. Oh, maybe they were.
It looks like there's 3 USB ports from what I'm seeing. One that's 3.1 and 2 that's 2.0.
Okay. And I guess the thing I'm looking at, I don't think it's the dock with the 2 arcade sticks. It's like the Wii U stand almost. And so I think the dock is going to have a little more going on than what I'm seeing here. And they're playing off the screen. So I'm assuming in dock mode, you would not be playing off the screen. But let's just put it out there. Will you buy? #buy. Are you in or out?
I'm in, but like, I mean, I don't know if I'm in at the level of like pre-ordering tomorrow. Like, don't they go up for pre-order
Oh, do they?
tomorrow?
Yeah,
I
the
think.
16th. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm quite willing to commit just right away, but I do foresee myself picking one up at some point.
And I must say, I'm kind of more hyped than I thought I would be for this thing. I don't know why. I mean, I play Steam games at my computer now. I'm not as like drawn to do it as I might be, but I rarely play my Switch, and I don't know if that's just because the games that are on it I don't feel like playing right now, or if it's because it's of the shape and portable nature of it. I don't know. Normally, when I play Switch now, I play on the TV with a Pro controller, so that's not really this anymore. But I am. Oh, the one thing we didn't mention too is that they were saying that because it's running the Steam OS or whatever, that the cloud saves, the Steam cloud saves, are built right into it. So you could, in theory, be playing on your computer, then immediately go to your Steam Deck, whatever this thing's called, and your game's right there, which is very appealing to me. Like if I do want to go somewhere and or whatever, just not be on my computer. I don't have to like have a new save file going. It is the same game I was just playing on my computer, so that's very appealing.
If you
But
have a Wi-Fi connection, of course.
yeah, I mean like in my house, basically. Yeah, I'm not gonna be going anywhere. But yeah, I don't know. The price tag is a sticking point for me right now. It seems steep. For like just a game machine. I don't remember how much this is more than like a Switch. I think we were talking about it's around the same, isn't it? Well, the base model.
Switch is $299 US, right?
Yeah, but the new one
$100.
that's coming out is 350, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
US, and this is I think 350. The base
$399.
model.
$299.
Oh, 399. Okay, so it is a little bigger, but it is higher power, I would say, than the.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't have that sweet OLED.
Okay.
Or does
did
it?
I didn't mention this. I don't know
I
if
don't
it's
think
officially
so.
OLED. I don't think so. Do we have an official release date?
It
Or is
says
it just a
shipping in
window?
December. It's not like an official date, just December.
December, eh? Well,
Yeah.
I'm kind of torn. Part of me is, I want to get a gaming PC, and it's like, should I just fuck it and just get this and that's it, knowing what my level of commitment is going to be? But then the other side is like, I don't play portable games. Like, it seems like, what am I going to use this for? I want it, but I'll probably buy it, let's be honest. But like, wouldn't I just be better taking my $1,000 and putting it towards an even better video card if that's what I'm going to do? Like if I'm going to commit to a PC and then decide later, oh yeah, maybe if I really get into PC gaming, which I highly doubt I will, like then consider this thing, or maybe a second iteration when they improve some stuff, or if it's popular, they start, even expanding options on it. I feel like as much as I want it, I feel like I should just, if I was going to pre-order this tomorrow, just slide that money over to a better video card.
And I guess that's kind of the question is like, who's the audience, right? And it's like, I think you can look at it as like a competitor to the Switch, which, I think they have a shot at stealing some of that market. Like we've already been saying, like they have this, well, Steam, people have Steam libraries, like the game, people already have lots of games. They have the cloud saves. And, sometimes like Steam games, like Steam's sometimes the first place where indie games in particular launch, right? So that's a bit of an advantage over the Switch potentially for that market of people who are buying the Switch and playing a lot of indie games. I mean, you're not probably going to get a lot of parents or anything like that, but maybe. But then the other
out there while we're talking about this, like, I don't think it matters. Like, I don't think they can lose money on this, right? I'm assuming they make money on the console. They're going to have pre-orders. They're going to see how that goes.
Oh, they're definitely going to make money on the.
They already have an OS. They already have an ecosystem. Like, it's just, okay, we're making a PC with a screen. We're not going to lose money on them based on pre-orders. And then if it's good, great. If it's not, it'll be like the Steam box and Steam controller. Who cares?
Well, I mean, interestingly, I think they said, I don't know if they said they're losing money on the console, but they said the price point was painful for them. I think that was the quote. So indicating that they're coming in like super competitive and they're looking at it for like a long-term gain and probably just selling games on Steam more than anything.
Valve with this price point, I really feel bad for them.
Maybe they should
throw them a couple
stop
extra bucks when you buy it. You know, they're really
trade a few more trading cards.
Give me a break.
Yeah. Did we talk about how it's based on Linux, but they said you can wipe it yet? Did we talk about that? So they did mention that you can basically put any OS on it you want, though it is running Linux by default with the Steam OS. So in theory, you could put Windows on it, and you could then have your Game Pass app. You could have Epic Store. You could basically have all of your PC-related game libraries on this thing. So you don't even need... Now, obviously, those wouldn't then have... the Steam cloud saves, right? But you would get anything exclusive to Microsoft now, able to play handheld mode. I almost think like this is kind of like we waited for Sony to put out Vita 2 and you didn't, so we're just going to put out this thing. And the fact that it is essentially like kind of off the shelf parts with like obviously some tweaks, but like the core of the insides is stuff you'd find. It's pretty compelling that they would be able to continue upgrading this as, you know, console generations improve, and you can just kind of buy like, you know, the Steam Deck 2 and the Steam Deck 3, just like you buy the iPhone next, you know, and you just keep being able to play portable games, all your games portable, I should say. And that's pretty awesome. Like, you don't have to have this custom hardware that the Vita has. Me as a developer, I don't have to go through any sort of custom cert process for this thing in theory. I mean, maybe they will have something just because there's the different control haptics and stuff. But I mean, Steam is not very aggressive with their cert stuff. So it's basically non-existent. It's like, did you fill in your bank account properly?
They basically leave it to the community to complain about your game if it doesn't.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the potential for this thing is quite high with further iterations down the road. And if this thing does well, which I actually suspect it'll do pretty well, for anyone that's pissed off at Nintendo that they didn't release the Switch Pro or whatever they're going to call it.
That's a big...
they're probably going to go to this thing.
I think that like the timing of this announcement is pretty huge.
I think it worked perfectly in Valve's favor.
Whether they were waiting, I don't know, but like just, you know, Nintendo announces this thing, everybody's disappointed, and then a week later we have this thing that basically is what you wanted. Like, that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing I'll add, like, whenever I see reviews, like I've been looking at, or I've looked at reviews for Macs and other things before from tech YouTubers and stuff like that, the biggest complaint typically with Mac stuff and other pre-built things is like the paths for upgrading and how limiting they can be, and being able to upgrade something in the future. I'm kind of surprised that they did not take a more modular approach, and like maybe it uses laptop parts. I don't know specifically what this, like the tech specs are for you to have a path to upgrade every part of this thing for a PC crowd. I'm surprised that didn't happen, to be honest. And I don't know if they have a plan basically like to open the door for anyone to make their own version of this box. Like, I think there was a Steam box like this before where there was like people could make their own version of it. That did not go well. Maybe that's why they didn't do that. But I'm kind of surprised there's not like, hey, we use, you know, a laptop video card that you can swap out whenever you want. And maybe you can, but the fact that they're not saying that right now makes me think you can't. And for a PC people seem to love this. This seems to be a big deal. And I'm surprised that it's not part of the announcement. I don't care. It doesn't really matter to me, but...
Well, PC people have never had like a handheld thing, right? That they can use, especially with their existing library. Like if you have whatever, any game, you can in theory play on this. And you know, most of Steam is like kind of older stuff, not really super cutting edge that people would have in their libraries. So you can play a lot of games on this thing right away with no cost, which is
But
probably pretty impressive.
that is kind of one of my questions though too, is just like, are they trying to capture like the hardcore PC gamer market? Like I feel like this isn't going to do that, but I mean it could, kind of be like a slow build and slowly win them over if, they realize, hey, I can still have my PC and play my games there. This is just like a little play on the go and use my cloud saves or something. But like, yeah, generally I think what you're saying is right, Frank, that like it's simpler and it's kind of seems like it's trying to steal the Switch market a bit more than just going for the PC gamer.
I mean, the biggest issues with something like this, I'm assuming, would be cooling and power supply stuff. Otherwise, I think if it was possible, they would say, hey, look, this is the foundation of the system. Swap your chip, swap your RAM, swap your GPU or something like that, right? I don't think you can do that because of limitations for cooling and power, but that would have been a real game changer if you ask me. If you could have put whatever you want in this thing, like it's impossible. Maybe it's a pipe dream, but that would have been enormous. Know. But there was shit. I just had another thing I wanted to bring up. It'll come back to me. Someone else go.
It looks like a pretty tight form factor.
Yeah.
I can't imagine them just being like, oh yeah, just open this slot and like slide in whatever you want. I can't imagine that. I bet it's pretty custom built inside, but like,
yeah. I thought maybe they would like, I'm saying you would plan it to like accommodate that in some way, like the actual shape of the console when you're designing it. And I'm sure they probably did. And it's like, no, I don't think people want that in a handheld.
Yeah. You'd probably need to make it a lot bulkier
yeah,
to incorporate sort of like plug and play type stuff. But
I remember what I was going to say. Is this like a nail in a coffin for, or at least for the foreseeable future, like let's say 5 or 10 years for streaming games, like cloud games? Like there's been reviews for xCloud. They're not that great. Stadia has been doing promotional stuff. We've debated a long time about bandwidth capabilities and whether or not we're there yet for this type of stuff. Still doesn't seem like we're there yet. And like, if we were there, if we thought we would be there in the next 5 years, there's no way Steam releases this thing. Like everyone would be like, why would I need this? I can stream any game with the best specs ever on my phone. If I think that's going to happen in 1 to 2 years, this doesn't exist. So
yeah, or even better on an iPad.
Yeah, I trust Valve to evaluate that business landscape. I mean, the only counter argument would be, oh, that is coming in 2 years. We've been working on this for a while. We need to sell it now before that happens. And I guess this would work with that anyway. So it's just, we're not like killing ourselves by releasing it. But I kind of read this as, cloud gaming is 5 to 10 years away.
I mean, I kind of agree with you, but just to work in the other news story from this week, Netflix is going to change everything, baby.
Okay, I think Netflix, I mean, we talked briefly about this. There's nothing being said. I think they're going more down the Black Mirror path, like kind of interactive. I think you would design games specifically for that platform, and they would be a different type of experience. Just a hunch. Or that's how it would start, maybe.
That seems the most likely, but it's just weird that they're hiring like actual, game industry people. Like I could see it maybe like sort of like 2D arcadey type games to start with. I can't see them doing like a Stadia type thing. Like that is way beyond.
Well, you're still going to want to hire game industry people. It's not like just because it's like not as complex a game, you still want game designers and people who have worked on game platforms before. And you want to scale up technology eventually as well. Like it doesn't hurt to have that type of experience.
I just think, like they have already the technology and they've already done these sort of like choose your own adventure type movies and TV shows. Like this seems like it's something beyond that. I just don't know what that next step is. So I'm curious, but yeah, I really don't think they're going to be competing with xCloud and Stadia or anything, at least not initially.
And just going back to the whole streaming thing, I don't think it's there. I have quite fast internet, and I tried the iOS test of iCloud. Oh no, what's it called? xCloud.
xCloud.
And it was not good. Like I remember testing Tomb Raider on my old crappy Android phone and like a while ago, and I think it felt better. So if they're not able to stream it through Safari on iOS, that's a big problem for streaming. And like I'm pretty sure I get over 100 megabits per second down easy, even over Wi-Fi, over my 5G. So I mean, it should be enough speed to handle it, and it's not. So
the native Android app is pretty good, but yeah, the browser stuff is definitely not there. So,
and Stadia is all browser, right? It's all through Chrome.
Yeah, well,
or do they have an app?
Do they have an app? Well, yeah, they have an Android.
They have an app for, at least when it launched, it was exclusive to certain phones, including all Google Pixels. But I think there's a specific app in those cases.
Okay.
I do remember it working pretty good in Chrome, though. Like, definitely better than xCloud, but...
I've used it in instances and it worked pretty well. But still, I mean, it's that 1 second it doesn't work well. It's like, it's somewhat forgivable in a movie. Even then, it annoys the piss out of me. But in a game, when you need feedback, like, it's brutal. It's just not going to cut it for certain types of games. That's why I guess I'm not surprised Netflix, or why I'm leaning into the idea that they would do very light, non-intense type game design that's suited for streaming platforms. But again, that's just a huge guess.
Yeah. I mean, and that's I mean, with a movie, it's basically just your internet is a problem. And just because you can't buffer enough or whatever. But with the games, like you're sending data back and forth constantly. You're not just like receiving the video. You can't buffer anything, right? Because the player could turn the camera at any time. So you can't really, I mean, yeah, what could you buffer? I don't know. I guess nothing. You're forced to do it on the fly. So if you have any hiccup at all, you're going to notice it immediately.
Maybe that's kind of what Sean was alluding to with the 2D stuff, where it's like a fixed background, where it's always kind of loaded and you don't have to worry about like multi-directional camera. Maybe that is like you make certain assumptions like that and you can do better stuff. I don't know. Or maybe you do a system where it actually does load like the entire background, the way like it would buffer, like you do some kind of weird hybrid where it's like buffering video, but you're buffering a 2D background and, you know, just kind of keeping sprites in one place. And you do kind of run it like a game on a TV, like through a
Now you're talking Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Netflix thing, like when you start thinking about it, like it's like, well, what devices are they going to support? Are they going to like, are all these games going to have to be playable on a TV remote? Like, are they, you know, like I don't know if I see them.
Any controller, any phone, you'll be able to connect it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I still feel like it's not even like dual stick seems like beyond what they would attempt. But I don't know.
Not in the scenario I laid out, because there's no lag at that point. It's kind of running, if it's a small subset of memory of the buffer that's you're using it for like playing animations on a pixel or something like that, and then the rest part of the buffer is for the background that's incoming, there could theoretically be no lag. It's more like
if they force the quote unquote games to only be in the Netflix apps, then they can update the app to have essentially like a little game loop running, and do the rendering locally. Like you don't even need to stream it. Like you could stream the game code and like the assets, and then it basically is just like your, you know, and maybe it queries what level or what certain asset it needs at that time. But
couldn't it be like an HTML5 game or something like that almost?
Yeah.
I mean, and then it's basically like a browser based.
On top of that, you could also like, oh shit! Like the only lag is if you have a complex collision system that you need to like, you know, get feedback from and change the level. So like that's, everything else seems kind of doable, but I don't know. Or plus TV specs are probably changing too. Or they might say, look, this version of Netflix, you need an Apple TV at minimum, or a certain type of Roku or Android box that they can rely on a certain amount of memory for or processing. So it doesn't mean it has to play on every TV necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
We just crushed it. We just invented Netflix gaming. Way to go, guys. All right. Anything else to say about Steam Deck? I'll be taking an upper decker this December.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I'm gonna keep my eye on whatever information comes out about it, but I'm definitely interested.
I did notice I had Death Stranding on my wish list on PC, and then it went on sale after the Steam sale yesterday. I think I got an email notification, and of course the game that's featured on the banner on IGN is Death Stranding. So,
one other thing I like
planned, I think,
the Steam Deck slogan. Oddly, I've only seen it on the developer website. Get your hands on deck.
All right.
So keep that in mind.
Is it better or worse than Steam Pal? Wasn't that what the rumored name was going to be?
I'd say it's better, I think. I don't know. PAL sounds too friendly for Steam. Steam's not Nintendo.
The only issue is like
you just call it solid.
I saw, like, I was trying to Google some stuff about it, and there's a device called Stream Deck, Elgato Stream Deck, which is like some sort of, they announced it. They announced a new one the same day. Well, that's even weirder. But yeah, so like there is another device, Stream Deck versus Steam Deck. That could cause some confusion. I don't know how popular this thing is, but it's like, for streamers, like to be able to do editing on the fly, I think, and stuff like that.
They should have just called it like the Steam Rita or something. Like some
See the marketing campaign now. Switch to Steam.
There you go. Do it.
They're going to turn that switch into a negative verb. All right, we done with this thing?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Let's get into what we played. I don't have much. Anyone want to go first?
Sure, I can go first. I did my finest to try to beat CrossCode before tomorrow, and I am going to fail miserably. Like, it is way longer than I thought. I thought I was about halfway through.
And I think it said it takes like 35 hours.
Well, yeah. I'm like 30 hours right now, and I definitely have at least 5 hours left. And so I have all the powers now. So I don't think I have anything more to complete, but I'm getting to the point now where the battles are actually very hard, and I'm having to redo them multiple times to like refine my technique of fighting specific enemies, and it is taking multiple tries of each encounter, each boss fight. The puzzles are getting harder, obviously. So although I really appreciate the design of everything still, and how all the different powers work, so you have fire power, ice power, and then you get like electricity, I think they call it jolt, and then you get this like wave power that kind of passes through things and allows you to teleport. So there's like a lot of really cool design manipulation they do in the puzzles with each of the different powers that really works well. But yeah, it's getting long now. I'm not really like tired of it yet, which is good, but definitely the difficulty of the battles is slowing me down and making me not really want to go back right away. So I put in probably like, I don't know, at least 10 hours this past week trying to get through it all, and I'm not going to make it. It's going to leave Xbox, and then I'm going to have to go back to my Steam version where I'm way behind, and I probably will just watch a Let's Play instead and just see what happens and see what the kind of other design things they come up with, because it's just too much, I believe, right now for me to conquer.
Well, it's like if Microsoft was smart, and I haven't really paid attention if they do this, but like when a game leaves Game Pass, they should have it on sale like the next week.
They usually have it for sale the week of.
Yeah,
really?
They do. Yeah.
That's
and I think it's just for the Game Pass people, if I recall. So it's like, if you like this, you can get it for cheap instead.
Yeah, I think it's gold technically, which comes with Game Pass. So just buy it, man. What are you doing? Finish off.
Well, I already have it on Steam. I don't want to buy it twice. I'm not you.
What is it, like $6?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know the price. If it's that cheap, I would consider it, but I don't think it's that cheap. I think it's like 20 at least.
All right, Sean, you want to go while I look this up?
Sure. So I played a game called Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's a little indie game. I finished it. It's pretty short. It's like probably under 3 hours, I would say. And it's kind of Zelda-esque, I guess, but it's more of a, I mean, it's got a sense of humor. It's kind of cute and charming. You play a turnip, and other characters in the world are different types of vegetables, and you basically are just going around doing these tasks for people. And there is a bit of a story. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, it just doesn't take itself very seriously at all. But some of the puzzle stuff was pretty good, I thought. The combat is not the best. It's a bit sluggish. I played it on the Switch, and there definitely seemed to be some performance issues. Like, there'd just be these occasional little hitches when you're kind of moving across the screen. But, and it's not a very difficult game, although there was one boss fight that I found just very frustrating and not very well designed. But overall, I still kind of enjoyed it. It's kind of one of those ones you look for on a Steam sale or eShop sale and might be worth picking up. But yeah, I had fun with it.
Cool. All I've really played is Mario Golf. I did some more of the quest mode or whatever it's called. I haven't changed since last week. I love the golfing, and I love like the shot controls. I like how they're adding stuff in quest mode, like the power-ups and the cross country golf, I think it's called, or something like that. Like, I think those are kind of fun. The running stuff, it's just like, it's not even a thing. You're just hitting the dash as soon as you can. There's really no strategy to it at all. It's just like, do it as fast as you can, and it's not fun. I literally want a golf game. I don't even want to have to fast forward my shot. I want to hit the ball. You tell me where I landed. Let me hit my next ball. I just want to get as good at golfing as I can. I don't care where it lands. I don't want to watch it land. Just let me go. I'm the guy, when you play golf in a group, I'm the person, and this used to happen in monkey ball too. Tap A, tap A, tap A. And Sean's probably the guy that never taps A. Let's go, Sean. Tap A. Definitely. What are we waiting for? I want to play. And
admire the shot, like I said.
I am always the guy saying tap A when you're trying to skip to the next player in multiplayer games. And just get a nice golf experience.
Yeah, the battle golf thing in like single player, I've only put in like a couple hours maybe. It didn't seem that fun. I agree. The only way that seemed fun to me would be for multiplayer. And then we were going to try and play multiplayer this week, and you can only do 2-player split screen at a time.
Yeah. Like, that's bad. That is bad.
That's it, eh? Is there any online multiplayer at all?
Online you can play 4, I think, but like locally, Sean was at my house last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just seems
you
like
couldn't even do the like Wi-Fi thing or Bluetooth thing or whatever they do. That that's weird.
One other very small complaint: they've got this mode where you run up to the ball to take your next shot. Sometimes you get to your ball and it doesn't register, and I think the reason is, especially on the green, it's computing like the breaks and like that grid that they have to show, and rather than like delay you rather than snapping directly to that view and waiting for the grid to load, they wait till they can actually show it for you. Because I notice it takes longer on more complex putts, like where the math equations are probably crazier, and that's really annoying. Like, if you're going to do this mode, It should be consistent every time. You get to your ball, I get to my ball, and it's like, am I close enough? Am I not close enough? What is this? And then like 2 seconds later, it takes me to the putting thing. I'm like, this is brutal. Your console is weak as shit. Step it up, Nintendo. Holy crap. That is awful.
There we go. I was waiting for it.
Well, let's be honest. Come on. If you can't compute the grid on your putting green, like, and have 2 people playing this fucking game, what is going on? You're living in the past. People, wake up! Buy the Steam Deck. Shut Nintendo down. Jesus.
So I had one other thing to mention, which is I tried out the Sam & Max VR game, which I kind of just blind bought, and I'm kind of regretting a little bit. I mean, it's not quite what I expected. So obviously, if you know Sam & Max, classic LucasArts point-and-click adventure game, they did, I think, was it Telltale? I think that was like one of the first,
I think so, yeah,
Telltale things they did to sort of bring it back. And so there have been some other ones since, and now they put it out for VR. Not Telltale, I forget who the developer is. And I've been saying for a while, like, VR seems like a great way to kind of do the classic point and click adventure thing and just make it more interactive. And instead of just pixel hunting, like, you can actually open drawers and look around. And so I kind of thought that's what this was going to be. So far, that is not what it is. They basically have a bunch of different mini games, and they let you try these different mini games. Like, one's like a, target range. One is this sort of like version of Simon Says to defuse a bomb, and there's like an obstacle course. And so they give you these things, and you can play them over and over again and try to set records for yourself or whatever. And then once you've done those, they give you like a case that basically takes all those mini games and puts them in sort of a story. And that, I did the first one of those, and it was not very compelling. And on top of it, it was kind of glitchy. Like, certain things, if you didn't do them in exactly the right order, you'd kind of be stuck and it wouldn't progress to the next thing that was supposed to happen. So I was kind of not impressed. The voice acting and stuff is pretty solid, and the writing for the characters is fun, and there's some enjoyment just seeing these cartoon characters in front of you and kind of being able to interact with them in some way. But overall, it was not what I thought it was going to be, and I'm a little disappointed. So check out some reviews if you were at all thinking of picking this up.
I love games where you get to set records for yourself. That's a blast.
Well, you know what I mean, like time trials or whatever. It's just basic stuff.
Super fun.
Sounds like it might be time to make a Who Framed Roger Rabbit VR game. Get that same.
Oh, I can imagine the weasel. You got to keep the weasel in the water. Your handcuff. Oh, that'd be good.
I mean,
I want to live that moment.
Could do some amazing stuff with it for sure.
Definitely. I got one more.
Okay.
I was feeling like playing Phantasy Star 4, and I had never played any of the other Phantasy Stars, so I decided to play Phantasy Star 1 for the Sega Master System. And it is old. It's an old game.
Yeah.
But it's really not as bad as I thought it was going to be. There is quite a bit of grinding required, which is pretty, standard fare for games this long ago. But I'm actually really impressed with what they were able to pull off. I looked it up. It came out in 1987. They have like 3D dungeons similar to, I believe, Ultima was like one of the first games that did kind of like walking 3D through a dungeon. And they do that on the Sega Master System, which seems like it would be really hard to do. And battles are pretty traditional. There are a few quirks, like there could be multiple enemies, but you can't choose which one you target. So it just kind of randomly chooses which one. It also doesn't show them all visually on the screen. It'll only show one sprite. And then in the top right corner, it'll just have multiple lists of their names. So there are little quirks like that. but it did have a lot of the roots that I remember from Phantasy Star 4, where like each character has sort of a unique weapon, and that weapon does, something different, which kind of makes them interesting to play with and gives it a bit of strategy. Although in this game, because you can't target specific enemies, that strategy's not really too much there. And it's got kind of like the space traveling between planets, and overall I'm surprisingly enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. Other than the grinding, some of the dungeons would be really hard without a map, so I'm using essentially a walkthrough of some of the dungeons. I'm also using like a play along, because some of the stuff is like there was one thing like find the wooden flute in like the corner of the village or something like that, or like in the village. It didn't even tell you where, and it was turned out you had to go to this like particular bush in like the corner and hit the search option, which you like never use ever in the game. So it's just like little things like that, like older things that people thought, oh, this will make people search around and it'll be fun, but it's not fun, and they hadn't really figured that out yet. So overall, surprised how much I like it, and I kind of want to keep playing the Phantasy Star games until I get back up to number 4. But yeah, I don't have that much time right now, so we'll see when I get back to this one. But it's fun.
I was just trying to think what the first person dungeon crawler was that I can remember playing, and for some reason I was thinking like one of the wizardry games maybe, but I don't know. I'm just looking them up now, and like the earliest ones definitely are not, or it doesn't look like they are. So I don't know, but the Phantasy Star must be one of the first, right?
Maybe. I feel like they took it from something else.
I think so too.
Like I thought it was like Ultima 4. So Ultima 4 I'm seeing has it, and Ultima 4 came out in 85. So it was definitely before. And I don't know if Ultima 3 or Ultima 2 before that had it. Probably not, but yeah. Oh yeah, maybe it does. I don't know, I'm seeing some screenshots here. So yeah, it came out. It feels like it was the first thing that was like when Western developers started trying to make like quote unquote Dungeons and Dragons style thing. I feel like that was kind of like one of the first things they did.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have anything else. Everything I try or to get into, it does not take at all. I'm hoping in 24 minutes, Skyward Sword I'm feeling
Oh my god, you're seriously gonna subject yourself to Skyward Sword?
I am.
I bought it too. I pulled the trigger.
Oh, you guys are ridiculous.
Well, you know what's funny? The big selling point that I've been reading about is they shortened all the tutorial stuff. Like, it's hilarious that that's how they're selling this game, and yet it's working.
By how much? Like 5 hours, or by less?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if they actually cut stuff out or if they just kind of made it that you can skip things. Like,
I did hear that you could skip dialogue and skip cutscenes.
Yeah.
Now, which
if the tutorial is there, I am playing the tutorial. I am playing the game as it was intended to be played. I like tutorials for the most part. They don't bother me. And that's never been an issue with me for Zelda games. I want to play a classic Zelda game, or classic style Zelda game, so I can further cement my opinion that Breath of the Wild is the most overrated game of all time.
I don't know if this one is going to be the one that does that. Maybe you should play Wind Waker instead.
Well, that's why it's the ultimate one to play, because it's like, this is notoriously one of the worst. And if I have fun with it, it's the best counterpoint against Breath of the Wild. So
I don't understand how that's going to prove anything with Breath of the Wild. Just because other Zelda games are good and Breath of the Wild,
I've been working on a list in my head for points as to why Breath of the Wild is the most overrated game. You know, I catch flack, and I just checked the Film Junk comments. Someone was saying maybe Frank should play his number 6 game of the year, Red Dead Redemption, finally, Red Dead Redemption 2. And, I mean, that's a very good point, but a video game journalist, I respect their opinion, Tim Rogers, had Breath of the Wild on, like, I think, one of his best games of the decade or ever, and he never even finished it. Like, and so many people I talked to are like, yeah, I never finished it. Amazing game, never finished it. If you don't finish it, that tells me an awful lot. And I would really like to know how many people finished Breath of the Wild that say it's amazing.
I mean, Red Dead could very well be the same for that.
It could be
kind of thing, but
Hawk, did you finish Breath of the Wild?
No, I finished. I got the Master Sword and I got the horse, and I got three of the four Guardians.
Okay, I got two.
I was working my way there. I was almost there.
But you didn't. You quit, right?
Yes.
Well, it's interesting.
I would have gone back though. I'll go back.
I think many people would call that one of the best games, if not the best game of the 2010s. And not no one. Sean has finished it. Many people who I talked to never finished that game.
Well, I was just going to say, like, my experience with the game was that I kind of didn't want to finish it. I just kind of wanted to keep doing other stuff in the world. So, like, I kept putting it off.
Nintendo rationalization.
I mean, that's just, like, I don't know.
This game was so good. It hurt to finish it. I
must say, though,
once you finish it, no one's stopping you from finding the other Korok seeds if it's what your heart desires so much.
It's just, it's like comparing it to like stuff like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead, where people just like spending time in the world, hanging out, doing whatever. Like, I felt like Breath of the Wild was kind of one of those games.
Hot take: worlds are overrated. Moving on. We done here?
I want to say I have a hot take. Frank's game of the year next week will not be Skyward Sword HD.
It's going to be tough to knock out Ratchet and Clank. I'll tell you that right now. It'll take Horizon might. I have a feeling it's not, based on my attempt to replay the Frozen Wilds. I can't get into it again. It's like I need to start at the beginning, and it's not going well. So I don't think it's going to change. I'm pretty locked into Ratchet and Clank at this point, but we will see. All right. Thanks for listening or watching on youtube.com/GameJunk. You can check out Andrew on Twitter at EquilibriumSys or MyAngryCommute, and Sean is Film Junk. And we will be back next week with Zelda hot takes coming out of our asses.
Is the EA thing next week? Or is that still a week away?
It is a week. It is next Thursday. Yeah, we'll probably be talking about that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, because I'm probably only going to play Skyward Sword for 2 hours. I'd be like, what a waste of money. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.